willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger along. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario's south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, on a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario's south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger along. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger long. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, on a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Eerie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger long. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Eerie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Up north, on a strip of sandy soil, lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom. Patchwork fields and rolling hills, it's just the place for you. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Norfolk, 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 you won't be a stranger long. On a strip of sandy soil lies a county called Norfolk. It's Ontario, south coast, you know, and it's surely not remote. If you pass through or spend a day or decide to call it home, you'll see why we love it here and are proud to call it our own. Norfolk, Norfolk, a southern county home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. Take in the small town atmosphere, be amazed at all that we grow. Like our kids that go and see the world and can't wait to return home. Drop a line in a placid lake or stroll along the shore. Take a tour on a peaceful country road and bound to be back for more. Of Norfolk, Norfolk, my Southern County home. Norfolk, Norfolk, we know you can't go wrong with the friendly folk of Norfolk. You won't be a stranger long. With hard work, we built a dream that only willing hands could do. It's on display at our fall fairs and at all the festivals too. Erie beaches, Carolinian forests, where the flower and dogwoods bloom.
As I said before in the report on May the 2nd, there's a lot of cons to making it smaller than the 40. Our policy says generally 40, and then we're permitting further variance with that. We also follow that immediately with, in the situation where you have smaller pieces, these are the things you'll consider. And we've actually, in the draft policy in front of you today, have added a couple of other things to that criteria to ensure that it's still a farm, even though it's smaller hectarage. So you are aware of that, and that I believe it was 30% of our properties now are at 20 hectares. So we've got quite a few that are smaller already, I'll say, quite a large number. The reasons I had given in that previous report for continuing the 40 hectare minimum lot size was that the county has this large supply of smaller agricultural parcel sizes which provide options for new farmers, and the 40 hectare parcel size does not unduly limit their options. The competition increases when you have smaller pieces like 20 hectares. It's quite possible for people that are not intending to do any farming to be able to purchase that. So it has the potential to take more land out of agricultural production when you have more smaller pieces. Larger farm parcels have an increased efficiency for farm operations. And when there is travel between farm parcels in a farm operation, there is an increase in concern for public safety and for the farmer's safety as well. This last week, there's lots of farm tractors on the road, farm implements, and we're being careful about going around them. It's important that they be able to get to their parcels. But if, in fact, they had more of them that were together, they wouldn't have to go on the roads quite as much. The larger parcels allow more flexibility in changing your farm types from various types of crops or to livestock. And the smaller number of larger parcels should be protected because we do have fewer of those. And finally, the large-scale mechanization production, the large tractors and equipment require larger farm parcels to operate more efficiently on. It's very hard to take those big multi-lane tractors out onto smaller pieces and get adequate turning capabilities on them. So for those reasons, staff had recommended keeping the 40 hectares.
And I really appreciate that. Staff have done a lot of homework and investigation. I just wondered, is this generally the type of policy that other areas adhere to?
Through the chair, again, in that report, I spoke of the work that had been previously done where we had looked at, I think it was some 60 different municipalities, and I forget the exact numbers right now, but they overwhelmingly had still kept the 40 hectares. And I had mentioned as well that the studies have been done really specifically for Essex and Lambton County, and they had kept the 40 hectares
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, I know I'm not a farmer, lived here in the farming area all my life. I wouldn't want to have a knee-jerk reaction and ruin farming. I think the rationale that planning staff have given is a good planning rationale. There's a lot more positives than negatives to leave it as is. I can see that we would create additional problems for the farming community if we reduce the size, according to what staff have indicated to me. So I can't support a change in the policy.
Councillor Columbus.
Yes, Mary, I believe the Ag Advisory Board, they did support the 40 hectares, didn't they not?
Through the chair, that's my recollection that they did.
Right, okay. And also, it's not saying that every property has to be 40 hectares. It can be generally, it can be less if there's, what the report says here, information pertaining to the scale and nature of the operation, projected revenue, expenses, financing, soil quality, farm quality, water quality and quantity, and other viability criteria relevant to the proposal shall be provided to the satisfaction of the county. So it's still permissible to have something less than 40 hectares. Is that right?
Through the chair, yes, it is. When it meets that criteria, it is possible.
Right, okay. And I think the Ag Advisory Board, when they discussed this, they did, someone did dwell in just about the fact that there would be more real non-farmers ending up buying some of these properties coming from the city, creating more problems for the farming community because they're perhaps not the real farmers. They're just guests on the land, I guess, in a rural area.
Councillor Height, your motion was for 20 hectares? 25, okay. Did you get that? Okay. I'll have the clerk read the motion.
That section 4.2.4 respecting agricultural lot size policies be amended to reduce the general minimum required size from 40 hectares to 25 hectares.
Questions? All in favor? Opposed? That is defeated. Moving on. Let's go ahead.
You have a further question, though, on this, and it's on page 63, item B. And I remember our discussion about this a few weeks ago, and I appreciate that staff have come up with the new wording. But my recollection was that I think I had suggested in that middle sentence in red, where all criteria outlined in section 4.2.4.a are satisfied, a deviation from the minimum farm size may be approved through a minor variance. And yet the word minor deviation is in there. Am I not remembering that correctly, or is that something that staff felt they needed to leave the word minor deviation in? And if so, what is the definition of a minor deviation?
Go ahead, Matt.
I think that was raised at the last meeting. If you take the word out, you still are subject to the 4 tests for minor variance. We haven't made any changes to this original document that's before you. So that is a word that's been flagged for reconsideration.
Okay.
But it will still be subject to a minor variance.
I understand that. Mr. Chair, in that case, could I put a recommendation forward that the word minor in front of deviation be deleted from that section B on page 63?
You making that a motion, or are you just asking for a
I
direction?
well, I think the clerk wants them as motions or
all right.
recommendations, so
Yep.
that's...
Councillor Black.
Really, I don't see the difference. Even planning staff even indicate you still have to go through the 4 tests, whether you have that word in or out. So I don't see any difference one way or the other.
Give the clerk a minute here to get things together. Go ahead.
That the word minor in front of deviation be removed in section 4.2.4B.
Councillor Wells.
What Councillor Black has said, could I ask staff, is there any difference of having the word in or taking it out?
Through the chair, I would suggest not really.
There is no difference. Thank you.
Okay, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? That is carried. Moving on, site-specific policies. Anything there you want to talk about?
No, the site-specific policies are staying the same as they are. There's just been minor changes to update the wording. We did move one on Waterford. It didn't belong in this section. We've moved it to the proper section where it should be. So really, we're ready to go on to page section 4.3, page 73, which is hazard lands, if the chair would like me to proceed with that.
Page 73, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay, hazard land designation.
So all we've done here is improve the introduction to section 4.3.1. So it's clear that where the hazard land mapping came from the Conservation Authority, and that has been moved. It used to be in section 4.3.2E. We've added a section in 4.3.2 on the next page to be consistent with the provincial policy statement on H at the bottom, and it's just about locating certain types of uses, such as institutional uses really shouldn't be located in hazard lands. It's putting vulnerable people in a vulnerable situation. There is policy added as well in 4.3.21C, and that is to permit two-zone floodway and flood fringe concept, should the county decide that they would like to reinstate that. Some, such as Councillor Brunton or Black, may recall that, and well, even Councillor John Wells, we had two-zone concepts way back in the city of Nanticoke and town of Simcoe, but those have been gone in the last couple of official plans. So this is just enabling policy to let that come back should council find that that would be helpful. And then in 4.3.2D, we're adding policy to permit a zoning bylaw process. And then 4.3.2 shoreline policies. They're deleting H, which is on page 78, as that program is not utilized. It's not worded correctly because it's loans, not grants, and it has its own process outside of an official plan, so it's something that does not need to be here. So those are the main changes to section 4.3 hazard lands.
Questions? Councillor Brunton.
Through the chair, if you had your full document of your official plan, I think that would be at home or in your office somewhere. In the very front of it, it has a consolidation list, and it gives the official plan amendment number, and it gives the bylaw number and the date that it was passed and when it was declared in effect. So that's the key, is to go, if you're looking for amendment numbers, you would go there. If you're looking at the specific numbers that are there, like there's probably one, I'm going to just pick an example here, I don't know where it will be, but in each of these sections of the official plan, after it, we always have site-specific policies. And so, for example, in this one, there's a 4.3.3.2, in Port Dover, it's a restaurant, spa, special, site-specific special policy area. So if you were to look on the Port Dover portion of Schedule B, you'd probably find that 4.3.3.2. So this is where you would get the text. So if one sees a number, you go to that section of the plan and you can look up that site-specific one. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, after when we get maybe down the road here, I have some specific questions when it comes to mapping. But going back to the hazard land designation, and I can't help but bring this up. And if you look at I call it the former airport property, and it's if you want to look at it, it's on Schedule B15. And it's now got hazard lands, provincially significant wetlands, and those didn't exist that many years ago. And I keep bringing this up, that the only reason those are there now is because an individual plugged a drain up. And the property owners, through the time frame that these wetlands were created, was not aware of it. They weren't local people, and they've held that land for years. And then all of a sudden, they come and they look at it, and because the drain is plugged, which will become part of the municipal drain that we're dealing with on the Dingle Creek, those lands are now basically become redundant because of that. I somewhat blame the people that own the land because they never spoke up, but it's a shame. It's a shame. That at one time was prime agriculture land. And another point, it at some point could become prime development land. But it's now classed as provincially significant wetlands and hazard land. And that will continue to grow until such time as we do the drainage work properly in there and stop the individuals from plugging the drain. The other thing is, there's a municipal drain that comes to I'll call it the certain area of the old boundary between Nanticoke and Simcoe, where they cut off the Woolley municipal drain. Just they didn't want to get involved with what would become the Dingle Creek watershed, even though it's part of it. So, can we change that? I guess that's my question. Can we, because of the circumstances that have happened? I'm sure if the owners of that land were aware of what was happening there, would have come forward and said something. And if you look back, I got the copy of the 1989 Town of Simcoe official plan right here, and it's not even in there. There's no wetlands out there. Mary?
Through the chair, the provincial policy statement and the designation of wetlands, I first recall that coming in 96. I think 94 was when provincially significant wetlands first came on the provincial scene.
Yep.
And so in the 96 official plan for the region, we had to add provincially significant wetlands. So as we progressed through the town of Simcoe and city of Nanticoke at that time, official plans, they had to add. It's required by provincial policy that we be consistent with it. So the designation of properties or lands as provincially significant wetland is something that the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry does through, they have a whole program on that, and they have criteria that they use to evaluate and mapping. So this is coming from them unless there's a study done that shows that it's not wetland. Or we have in the past had a former staff member who took the training course, and when we were doing the zoning bylaw, said, you know what, this mapping is not accurate in this area because it was high land as opposed to low wetland. So we did achieve some changes through that work and the zoning bylaw. What's shown here is the latest Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry designation as wetland. We have updated the mapping to show the most recent, so you will see a change even from the 2004 mapping. because we put in the updates according to the next section we'll be talking about. How to change it is to do a study and go to the ministry and say this is not correct based on this specific data that has been found.
Well, I guess if nobody knows the past, they accept what's in front of them at the time. But there are photographs of the old, and some of them are in our facilities here that show those lands, as an airport, agricultural lands, and there are no wetlands there. And I know the history of why it became, gosh, I think there's Phragmites out there now, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a shame. And again, I don't own the land, but I'm sure if I did own the land, I would have been screaming at somebody for plugging up the drain and creating the mess. And there's evidence out there in photographs and everything going back to, I believe the last one, there's a major photograph of the whole town of Simcoe, aerial photograph, 74, I believe it is, that I'm aware of. No wetlands out there at all. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. Feel sorry for the owner. Thank you.
Councillor Height.
Further to that, Mr. Chair, why can't staff just put together a report? Take the picture from 74, write a paragraph, take this picture and send it in. Honestly, to pay another consultant $25,000 or $35,000, it's ridiculous for this. Surely the province has some common sense, and some of our staff could get it passed to them, to the common sense department, to make that ruling. Could we not do that? Why a study for everything? Even a simple letter. This stuff should be handled through email, to be honest with you. Hey, could staff speak to that? Can you not just do that?
Mary?
Through the chair, the evaluation of wetlands is done by a biologist trained in wetland evaluation. It's not something staff can do.
So he's looked at this in this light, or when was it done? I guess that's the other question.
Through the chair, it's my understanding that this is mapping as of this spring from the Ministry of Natural Resources. I do not have knowledge specifically of when this wetland got to be this size, but that kind of thing can be found out in consultation with the ministry.
Councillor Broughton, go ahead.
I'm not sure who 74 and subsequent years, who did the flyovers to do the aerial photographs? We all had it done back in those days. There wasn't a ministry involved in that? I thought the ministry are the ones that flew it. Or maybe I can't. Huh?
3 flyovers, 3 people did it. MNR, the regional.
Yeah. But, Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to pursue it. It's kind of a, I guess if somebody looked at it in the spring and he was a recent graduate and even in the last 5 years that did this, he would have no knowledge to go back and look at photographs of that previous flyover. Is that safe to assume?
Through the chair, I respectfully suggest that it doesn't matter the history. The fact is that it is wetland now. Wetland policy came in later than a lot of the air photography you're talking about. Certainly the county has access to that. But the thing is, the ministry has evaluated it, and they have said it's wetland. It was looked at with the next property study when it was done.
Yeah, I realize that.
It's been looked at since, and it's still all coming back, it's wetland. And that's where you start, is it's considered to be wetland by the ministry, and staff can't change that.
Well, I don't dispute it's wetland now. It's going to continue to be wetland as somebody fixes the problem, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Councillor Columbus.
Well, the LPRCA, they have the same issue that they're going to be facing everywhere where there was a dam built over the years. Teeterville, Victoria, you name it. Those are all man-made wetlands. And it looks like the MNR is going to kind of force the need to maintain those wetlands, sounds like, from what I heard at Conservation Ontario.
Councillor Height.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm moving up to page 76 and page 77 under shoreline policies. I see we got the access and egress in here about 100 times again. So I'd like to ask staff, I know that there's a report coming before our summer break, but it won't actually address the problem. It will address the problem, it won't solve the problem. So are we looking at stalling all development in those areas for, what will it be, 2 years, 3 years before the problem is solved?
Through the chair, to Councillor Height, you're correct. The safe access plan or emergency plan that we're creating for the county will not solve the issue that there is challenging egress and egress from those two communities, but it will set some details in place if there is a challenge on how we can deal with it. In terms of will it stop development, in relating back to the PPS, it's only really for new development that we have to enable those policies. So for additions and those sorts of things, they'll still progress as normal.
But it does say in here, development and site alteration shall not be permitted within areas that would be rendered inaccessible to people. So development, if you use the provincial policy, gets to the very minute stage of adding a shed, a fill, gardening. Your additions clearly will be development.
Through the chair, that's a good point, Councillor Height, and we will look at that as staff. That's a good point, and we'll look at that as staff.
Okay, and then again on subsection C, items 4, you have it there again, vehicles and people have a way of blah, blah, blah. All right, and then down further, F, you have here, the replacement of an existing building or structure may be permitted providing this hazard has been adequately addressed through the use of acceptable engineering and resource management practices. Okay, so we've addressed the hazard. And then the next sentence says, acceptable replacement shall not result in an increase of the original usable floor area of the building or structure or alter the original use or affect the shoreline processes. So if we have an engineer who's addressed the problem, why are they unable to increase the original usable floor area of the building, and where is that definition?
Through the chair to Councillor Height, I think you raised some really good points, and we don't have answers today, but we can bring this section of the official plan forward with the safe access plan and address some of your questions at that time.
Okay. I'll wait till then, I guess.
Further, Councillor Brunton.
Well, I'm on page 79, but I'm just wondering, I'm on about halfway down. It gives all those main level boathouse and the square meterage. But you come down to it, and all of a sudden it says exterior stairway, 929 square meters. That is one big stairway. Should that be 9 point something square meters? Huh?
That's a humongous stairway.
Wow, that is some size.
Through the chair, we'll check into that.
Yeah, well,
You can live on those stairs. Stick with it. Yeah.
Good one, Doug.
thank you.
Yeah, you finally did something right for a change.
I think they put the period in the wrong place.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, you got that down. Moving on to page 80. Provincial significant wetland designations, we've got that. Permitted uses. Land use policies, any questions? Hamlet designations. Permitted uses. Land use policies. Mary, did you want to talk to any of these? There's a lot of red here, so.
Through the chair, there's clarification words added in the introduction to the Hamlet section. And 4.5.2B has been moved from 3.6. So it's been moved from the introduction, the managing growth section. The other big change in this section is that the Norfolk Mall has been moved to the shopping center commercials section of the plan. So those are the main points here.
Okay, seeing no site-specific policies. Go ahead.
I do have one, sorry, that just
What
has
page
caught
are you
my
on?
eye.
Sorry.
I'm on page 82,
Okay,
and to Mary, I guess it would be item number 6 under 4.5.2B, and this again relates to the issue around development within land that has been designated as hazard land. And on the surface, it appears to me that that item 6 could be, if you like, contrary to our new zoning bylaw, where the zoning bylaw is permitting development within areas designated as hazard land, subject to the LPRCA determining that it's correct, i.e. either flood-proofed or whatever. So do we need to change, and I know staff agreed to change wording as required earlier this morning when we talked about this. Is that another one that perhaps would need to have wording added that would say, except where deemed acceptable by the Long Point, the appropriate conservation authority?
Through the chair, we would look at that, but it reminded me that Councillor Oliver had raised this earlier. And when we went past page 74, under land use policies, there is a section, it's now going to be C. The zoning bylaw may establish specific zones to address existing development within hazard land designations. And we've added here, to be consistent with the zoning bylaw, exceptions may be permitted if approved by the Conservation Authority and the county. So that's trying to pull that in. It's in this section, but we can look at whether or not it should be listed elsewhere.
okay. Councillor Height?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isn't item 10 in that same section very similar to that? The proposed development is not within a hazard land designation?
Through the chair, that would be correct.
And then I'm over here on the new stuff on the top of page 83. It says here, in the red, the county shall strongly discourage linear development along roads. This is with the Hamlet area. What do you mean by that?
Through the chair, what's meant by that is that it was preferred that there not be long strips of hamlets, so you could have a huge long, just one lot deep. That in fact, what was preferred was to have in-depth development within hamlets.
And what's the reasoning behind that, considering most of our hamlets are one-strip roads?
Through the chair, the reasoning is to have less impact on agriculture, to have a more compact community that's more, I'll say, formed more concisely, so that it's more of a community feel than just a long strip. Having lived in a hamlet that was just 1 mile long on one deep, you didn't really get to know the people at the other end. If you had some in-depth development, it certainly helped the community formulate better. It is also better for agriculture that there be, again, more of a compact form than a spread out long linear. It has less impact on farmland parcels.
I don't like that one, Mr. Chair. I've lived in apartments and I've never ever seen my neighbors before, so I'm not sure that runs with me, but most of the hamlets in my area are like that. And there's a lot of infill that could be infilled, so I'm going to move a motion that we remove that sentence. I don't like seeing strongly discourage, period, and I certainly don't like seeing us discouraging how our community's been built over the last couple hundred years.
Page 83 at the top, I believe.
I want that sentence out. The county shall strongly discourage linear development along roads. That disables so many lots I can imagine.
Yep, hang on. Are you done, Councillor Height? Councillor Breton?
Well, there's some merit to that because, you know, linear development certainly is a lot cheaper than putting in internal roads and cul-de-sacs in a hamlet. I mean, I can think of one that's possibly coming up where I don't know which way they're going to go. They got the possibility of like cul-de-sac versus linear development, and if you weigh the two cost-wise, it's a heck of a lot cheaper linear-wise. So I can speak from that side of it. I don't know about I know. I say it's cheaper linear-wise than it is to create a road and a cul-de-sac and all that for a person that wants to create some lots. So anyways, thank you.
Councillor Black?
The motion on the floor?
It will be in a few minutes. We have a mover, so do you want to deal to the motion? We'll have the
Well-
clerk read it. He's still busy typing it up.
Yeah, well, I'm going to speak against the motion because I think it's inappropriate planning, and I agree with the planners that more compact development is better, is cheaper, it's better for the farming community. Again, if you do a balance sheet, if you look at just one element focus on that element, then yeah, you could say this is the best thing to do. But planning staff are not looking at one element. They're looking at us as a society, a collective whole, people that live in the rural area, in the hamlets, the people that the farming community that has to function around them. So I believe that it's imperative upon us to consider all rather than a single narrow-minded focus on one thing only.
Okay, hang on a second. I've got, I'll have the clerk read the motion, and then I'll let you talk. So the next one would be Mike and then Luke.
That section 4.5.2D be amended through the deletion of the phrase, "The county shall strongly discourage linear development along roads."
Councillor Columbus?
Well, I agree that linear development is not the best way to go. In-depth development is the right way to go. I'd like to ask the planners what the pros and cons are to linear development versus in-depth development.
That's not something we've been asked for a while to think through that. Usually we have a bit of time, Mr. Chair.
I think I asked that earlier before. We said we're going to have to create roads inside, but anyway, go ahead.
So the pros to having compact development with the internal streets are that you have more of a community, it's more compact, it's better use of your land, less intrusion into your agricultural area. The cons for that would be it's more expensive. Trying to think of anything else. I think I'm at my end that I can say for right now.
The pros and cons of linear development. You mentioned in-depth, but are there any pros for linear development?
Through the chair, I'm not thinking of anything specific other than, well, you've got quick access to the road, but you'd have access to the road either way, whether it's in depth or it's along the road. Cons, I'm thinking that as you add more entrances to your